Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Just Open It, the YouTube series in which I open recently acquired action figures and toys. My name is Russ. Thank you so much for watching this. I really appreciate it. If you're a fan of action figures or toy collecting or pop culture in general, please consider subscribing to my channel, Karaoke Fanboy TV. Every Monday I'll be opening a brand new action figure, or a vintage action figure, but new to me still. I'll be opening it right here on YouTube so you could watch what that process is like and get my first impressions of that toy. This week I am concluding my series within a series here, featuring McFarlane Toys Dark Knight Returns action figures. Recently, McFarlane Toys released 4 Dark Knight Returns action figures. Joker, Robin, Superman, and now Batman himself. And I am a tremendous fan of the Dark Knight Returns as a comic book, as a story, and ultimately as a work of art. I do believe that Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns is the best comic book ever made. I think it's an incredible superhero story, and it really utilizes the true breadth of what graphic sequential storytelling can do, as explored in many books like Will Eisner's Comics and Sequential Art, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, Understanding Comics, and Scott McCloud's series about comics in general. I feel like The Dark Knight Returns is a seminal text right up there with all of those other instructional books as to how great comic book stories can and should be told. I still have the stand here from Superman. I'm going to put that aside. And Batman, of course, is my favorite superhero of all time. The idea of a regular guy, albeit with wealth, facing tragedy and deciding to take matters into his own hands, to become an avenger of the night, to fight crime, to me is an incredible story. Not just in superhero comics, but in Americana in general. The idea that you could transcend the trappings of wealth to get dirty in the streets with criminals, to stop them from creating more victims like the one you were, is an incredible story. It's a great adventure, and I absolutely love it. What's ironic is, despite the fact that The Dark Knight Returns is my all-time favorite comic book and graphic novel, I have recently fallen in love with Batman the Brave and the Bold animated series. I've been binging it on HBO Max, and I think I gotta say it's my favorite Batman cartoon of all time. I just love how campy it is. I love how it's embraced all of the aspects of Batman's mythology, including in some parts The Dark Knight Returns. I love that it features obscure characters from the DC universe, and how it kind of acknowledges legacy characters like Blue Beetle and the Atom in a way that does not discredit or discount any of the folks that wore that costume before, and yet embraces kind of this next generation of characters too. I think it does that very tastefully and without agenda. And that was a phenomenon kind of started in The Dark Knight Returns, as we see Carrie Kelly take on the mantle of Robin. Believe it or not, up until that point, she was only the third person to do so. Jason Todd had already been introduced in the comics, though not as the rough and tumble kid we see in later issues, the one kind of reimagined as a kid from the streets. He was more of a Dick Grayson clone, even when The Dark Knight Returns was on the shelf. I believe my chronology here could be off by just a few months, but ultimately, Jason Todd wasn't a super remarkable character. He was one just to replace the aged Dick Grayson. So for Carrie Kelly to be introduced as not just a new Robin, but a female Robin, and a redheaded Robin, so distinct from her predecessors in so many ways, to me was just one of the many ways Dark Knight Returns kind of set the stage for the future of comics, because now it's super common for just somebody to be, like I said, the Blue Beetle or the Atom, where you're going to have, a young female Martian Manhunter. What's her name? Mary Manhunter or something like that? I don't know. But, that kind of all started in a way with The Dark Knight Returns. Or at least it became a little more commonplace than it had been, as I'm sure people are shouting now. Well, what about Wally West and Hal Jordan taking up the mantle of Green Lantern even after Alan Scott? Yeah, I get it. Mantles had been passed. Legacy characters were already established. But in contemporary comics and storytelling, let's give it to The Dark Knight Returns for the many trends that it launched And now I'm diving into Batman. And this is but the penultimate episode in this series, as when I'm all done, I will be assembling the horse that comes with these guys. That's right, Batman rode a horse in the 4th issue of The Dark Knight Returns. And if you buy all 4 of these figures, you can assemble that horse. I've been opening in the order of the horse's anatomy, and Batman does indeed come with 2 legs and the tail. So that's why I'm opening Batman last. There he is. Oh, he comes with like a bat rope. A couple of alternate hands, of course. So let me extract Batman first. I've shared my opinion about action figure packaging, so I won't get too into it now, but Batman escaping this bubble is almost akin to Batman. See the way he just kind of slumped out of there? Almost like the way he fell was almost too realistic for my taste, but I was going to say Batman escaping this bubble is like Batman escaping any Silver Age trap he was put in. Tied to a big typewriter or something. But here he is. The man, the myth, the legend, Batman. From The Batman Returns. This is kind of surreal. I know statues and other action figures inspired by The Dark Knight Returns have been released over the years. Didn't really get into them. I don't know why. I do so love Batman, as you can see from my shirt. I love this story, as I've explained. Maybe I thought that none of those figures would live up to the hype I had built up in my head over what these action figures should be like. These guys have not disappointed so far. I've only really messed with them in the breadth of these videos. I haven't messed with them off camera yet, but once I get them on my shelf and see what they're really capable of by way of articulation, I feel like I won't be disappointed. I feel like because they basically stand on their own without the assistance of those stands, like I showed you. And here's what's interesting. Batman doesn't come with... Oh, yes, he does. He does come with one. It's on the back here. So it's not in the bubble. It's on the back. And you've seen me extract these cards, and I'll read that origin here in a second. Here's the stand, which is just like the other stand I had out here earlier. So I'm messing with Batman a little bit, and his joints are a little stiff, probably very much like the story. Batman was, 60 years old or something in this story. And just kind of get an idea here. Give you a close-up look. He's got that kind of Frank Miller grimace. There, I get the huge bat on his chest, which I love. Grant Morrison, in a conversation with Kevin Smith, talked about how the Batman's suit in The Dark Knight Returns kind of goes through this evolution. And it's a very interesting analysis, how it kind of breaks down and becomes either more... It starts primal and gets more advanced until ultimately Batman's in that armor. In this kind of bizarre evolution of the suit in the way it kind of reflects the story of The Dark Knight Returns. Check that out. That's on an old episode of Fat Man on Batman when Kevin Smith still talked about Batman on his Batman podcast. But the 2 knee joints here, so you kind of get that dexterity with the knee. He's feeling a little stiff to me, so I'm going to have to mess with it a little bit. I'm not going to waste too much time here on camera doing that for you, but you can get him to stand on his own. That doesn't feel super stable to me yet. I've pointed out the cape details in the past. And look at that. Just look at how it looks like this cape is huge, right? With all of those folds. So I think that's a pretty cool feature. And if you look hard enough, you can kind of see where the cape's ends are. So it's a very realistic, multi-layered piece of cloth here for Batman's cape. Let me read the back of the card as I have for the other figures. And they've positioned the character here so you can see how he should hold this accessory. As a child, Bruce Wayne watched as his parents were brutally killed in Gotham City's crime alley. Traumatized by their deaths, he devoted his life to becoming the world's greatest weapon against crime, the Batman. He's a master detective and an expert martial artist, but his greatest weapon is his mind. Batman has a plan for every occasion, as well as high-tech weapons, gadgets, and vehicles to assist him in his relentless pursuit of justice. Now, after 10 years in retirement, Batman returns. You know, I'm ultimately disappointed with that description because I feel like McFarlane Toys has really missed out on an opportunity to explore the depth of the Dark Knight Returns story and to maybe introduce a new generation to it. This card should have started with Batman's 10-year retirement, inspired by the presumed death of his partner, Robin, Jason Todd, and how the city's crime wave and a tumultuous political environment globally drove Batman to finally break out of the shackles of his mundane life as a philanthropist and billionaire, and to don the suit and to feel like a man of 30 or 20 once again. I mean, there's just a better way to write this, so this doesn't seem like any other Batman action figure, but to tell us how special this Batman really is. So I'm disappointed in that, but it's such a small detail, because I'm really not treasuring these cards. I'm extracting the rope with the Batarang at the end. Pretty cool. There are Batman's hands, alternate hands. This one's they're both fists. Here are his hammers of justice, as he describes them in The Brave and the Bold. So then these are the hands that would hold the rope. And if I consult the picture on the card, looks cool. I should be able to just... Now, I had an issue with the Joker's knife in the first video of this series. And I'm not going to exactly recreate the picture. But gosh, it's just not as easy as it looks to get him to hold this in a cool way. And it's a bummer. And you know why it's not as easy is because the hands are replaceable, so the wrists are like loose. There isn't support there, so I could confidently just snap these in place. Instead, I gotta like hold the hands still. And I don't know if this is a common gripe for action figure collectors and openers and posers as people pose them for their shelves. I'm just telling it like it is. I'm bummed that this isn't just something I could go boom, boom, and here he is. I gotta like mess with it a bit. Very inconvenient for a YouTube series where I'm trying to post maybe a quick 10-minute thing here you guys can watch while you're on the toilet or something. But, you know, I'm not even going to mess with it, ultimately. This is cool. It's not functional as a playable weapon, but I don't think McFarlane Toys are meant to be ultimately played with by children. They're meant to be purchased by adults, maybe shared with kids. His leg's pretty stiff, too. I guess what I'm trying to say here is Batman's my least favorite of the four I've opened. This leg is super easy to move. This leg, on the other hand... Oh, did you hear that? I hate that. I have no idea if I just broke this character or not. But, this was a bit of a gripe fest, and I'm sorry for that, folks, because I do like the figure. And I'm a fan of all four of the ones I've opened so far. This is going to ultimately end with me straddling this Batman on a horse. So how bad can it be, right? But I don't know. And again, this is why maybe I haven't purchased Dark Knight Returns toys in the past, because I had such high hopes for what these figures could and should be, that I might just be too hard to please here. There he is standing on his own. I'm going to leave him there and tell you that my next video will indeed feature me removing the horse parts from my previously opened Dark Knight Returns action figures from McFarlane Toys. So you can see me assemble that horse, put Batman atop it, and fight the apocalyptic fires of Gotham as it faces a nuclear winter. Gosh, I hope that's not reflective of reality by the time I release this video. Thank you very much for watching it. Stay tuned for the next time I look at one of the action figures right here in my living room and I say, you know what? Just open it. I'll catch you next time.